What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a little bit now, and it's a little bit more relevant as we approach the trade deadline and what Kevin Cheveldayoff said in his midseason presser. Usually, Kevin doesn't say a whole lot, but he kind of showed his cards a little bit on what he plans to be doing at the trade deadline. So he was asked in this interview if he was, what his plans were coming into the trade deadline this season. And he was quoted saying, "You don't know where the future is going to go on a lot of different fronts. The cap, contracts, injuries. But one thing about this game is when you have the opportunity, you should try it and take it." He then went on to say, as a player, you hear stories of players getting close and never really achieving their goal. The would've, could've, should've of things at the end of their careers. If they had the benefit of hindsight, maybe there would be different things. Those are the kinds of things that you never want to, as a player, never want to leave on the table. So just picking apart those quotes there from Kevin Cheveldayoff, it is apparent that he does want to add to this team, right? But it will only happen if there is an opportunity. And that takes me to the next quote here. He was asked if, they were going to add at the deadline, and he said, "You have to be in a position to do it." He said, "I'm hesitant to say things, do things, or make proclamations because we haven't done anything yet. We're at game 41 here, and there's still a lot of work ahead of us." But you take a look if you are fortunate enough to be in the situation where you think there's pieces you can add or want to add and be able to add. You seriously look at it. So with these quotes, I do think it's not rocket science, right? If there's a big move to be made, if you're pushing for the playoffs, then obviously, hey, you try to go in, you try to build up your team the best you can, and you try to move forward, you try to win a Stanley Cup. And I understand it's pretty vague as it is, but we don't usually get this stuff from Chevy. And it makes me wonder, if the Jets are going to make a push here for the playoffs, because they should, with the team that they have right now, a Vezina winning goaltender in Connor Hellebuyck, Norris candidate in Josh Morrissey, and a lot of guys having career years like Pierre-Luc Dubois and maybe even Mark Scheifele, and then, Nikolai Ehlers, Kyle Connor, all these guys. You've got all of these players. This is the time to go all in. This is the time, sell the farm, man. Let's go all in. Let's win a Stanley Cup. And the reason I say this is because we've got a lot of guys in their primes and a lot of guys whose future with Winnipeg is uncertain in the next couple seasons. We're going to have to make a decision after next season about Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuyck. Blake Wheeler's probably going to be off the books if he's not moved before then. If they do try to move him in the offseason, I'm not sure if they'll try to do that. Brendan Dillon's contract will be expired, so will Dylan DeMello's. So the team is going to have to make a lot of decisions, and quickly, because, hey, after the next 2 years, the Jets may be looking at a legit rebuild, or they're going to have to figure out who is a part of their core and who they're going to pick going forward, because I really don't think that you're going to be able to have Mark Scheifele paid re-upped. He's on a $6.25 million deal right now, which is very cheap. He's going to get a raise. Connor Hellebuyck is probably going to make double-digit money. He's that good. And then you've got Pierre-Luc Dubois, who, I don't know, after last year's debacle with Montreal and his agent, I don't know if he's going to be back in Winnipeg no matter what happens this season. So a lot of things to consider and go forward here, and while you have all these pieces under contract, I think this is the time to go for it. So whether that means you add a top line player, a top six winger, anybody, I don't know, you can even add a guy like Bo Horvat if you find a way to work out that deal. Really shore up the center depth even more if you want. You can have 29 goal Bo Horvat on your third line for fun. I don't think they're going to go swinging for Horvat, but I do think this team is going to try to add a depth forward for sure, a top six forward, and it wouldn't shock me if they try to upgrade the defense somehow. It's probably going to be somebody in, somebody out kind of thing. It might be a hockey trade. I don't know how this is going to go. It's going to be really weird because a lot of teams are cap strapped, and it's going to be a wild trade deadline or a very quiet trade deadline. But I do think the Jets are going to do everything in their power to try to win. And it was just like Kevin Cheveldayoff said. You look back at the end of your career and you say, I could have done this. I should have done this at the time, and maybe things would have been different. Maybe we would have won. But to avoid those thoughts and those doubts about what happened in the past, you have to go all in and you have to leave everything on the table. Say, hey, we gave it our best shot and we either won or we failed. And I don't think you can be afraid of failure here right now. If you're the Winnipeg Jets, you have so many guys having career years, as I stated before. You've got top elite goaltending. Hey, it's time, guys. This team could legitimately be a Stanley Cup contender with a couple more pieces added, maybe even one more piece, who knows. But I truly do believe in this team, and I think it's time that we take this team to the next level, and I would love to see Kevin Cheveldayoff and his staff totally stack this Jets roster and go into the playoffs with one goal in mind, and to absolutely dominate and win a Stanley Cup. There's going to be a lot of guys being floated around. We'll see if the Jets are able to make a big deal or not with all the cap. I do think that, there are ways around the cap, obviously, and I think that the Jets are going to do everything in their power to bring in at least one difference maker for sure, maybe two if we're able to pull it off. But we'll see what is in store in the next couple months here. Trade deadline is on March 2nd. It is a little bit away, but it is quickly approaching. Fires are starting to burn a little bit. Smoke is starting to appear, and it's a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff. But with all that said, guys, what do you guys think about Kevin Cheveldayoff's comments? Do you believe in the Jets this season? Do you think they need to add, or do you think they need to just stand pat? I'd love to hear about everything that you're thinking. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to keep up with all of my Jets content, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.